So give me your take on how Behind the Stands got started.
Well, I think like Russell has highlighted, on our runs we just kind of goofball and knock around ideas, just really stupid things. And I think, in today's society, sitcoms kind of get a lot of attention, and so we've seen our fair share of sitcoms, and so these stupid ideas kind of blossomed to how we would see them in a sitcom. And then from a sitcom, we were like, well, how do we put it into film with our way? And so after nonstop banter of how funny these ideas would become or would look on film, I was like, all right, I'm going to do this because I'm hurt. My hamstring's busted. I'm sitting here moping about it. I need something to get my mind off of this. And so I pulled the trigger. I went and got the camera, and next thing I know, we're at practice filming each other doing weird stuff.
How did it come about that you and Russell?
Well, I think Russell and I have kind of a unique sense of humor. I think growing up in the same area, it's just kind of like that East Coast, New England sense of humor, and we just kind of, it's weird. We just really understand one another pretty well. And so when we started becoming the idea of being training partners came around, it was just eventually going to happen. And so it's like, all right, well, if anyone's going to be my partner in crime here with these silly ideas, it's going to be Russell Brown. So it just started to blossom.
And when did you first know Russell? Because you were at University of Oregon while he was with OTC, right?
Yep.
So is that how you first came to know him? Or?
No. He lived 5 miles from me back home in Vermont, and he was in New Hampshire. I was Vermont, and I had heard about him once I started getting into the track scene, and we actually bumped into each other at a Ben and Jerry's, in local Ben and Jerry's of all places. And so, we started running together, and he was at Stanford at the time, and then so. He was there and I was in Oregon. We competed against each other a little bit, like the conference meets. But Russell was always kind of like the idolized track figure from my hometown. He's 4 years older than me. He was always the guy to kind of set the standard. And, when I broke out, it didn't matter how fast I got. I always looked at him as he was kind of the standard, and I always idolized him. And so when I joined OTC and I had the opportunity to kind of arrange a training partner and figure out who I wanted to work with, Vin sat me down. I was like, I need to think about it. I was like, I want to train with Russell Brown. And so we got together, we started talking and goofing around. We'd see each other summers and winter breaks, and we'd always run. So it was just like the same thing from the east to just come to the west.
Okay. The ideas came from you just running around training days?
Yeah, honestly, I think if an idea really stuck and we really wanted it to happen, we would both get lots of laughs out of it just talking about it, and then we would go home after practice and we'd call each other like, all right, let's meet here at this time and we'll just see what happens. And so the action in these films are like kind of scripted, and we want the action that we want, but the dialogue is all kind of just off the cuff. And so we'd be like, this is the point we need to make, let's just get to that point. You can take whatever route you want to get to, but make sure you get to that point. And so when we sat down, we actually started filming. I think a lot of our friends kind of caught on to it too, and like they kind of got into it because it was fun for them. It's just as fun for them as it was for us. And so when one thing connected to the other, and is all edited and put together, it just made people laugh. And for me, that's what I like most about it, is seeing other people's reactions and how they laugh to our comedy and our humor. It's the filming is fun, editing's great, but the reaction you get from the general public is far more a win for me than anything else.
Everyone's going to see this. It's out there. How do you feel about that?
We thought about the consequences for maybe a whole half second. It was something we were worried about for a little bit. The one thing we didn't want to do is kind of step on any toes with Nike and our sponsor OTC, any of those guys, because for everything they've done for us, the last thing we want to do is embarrass them. And so I think obviously with Russell, he kind of started out, he put the dress on, and then it was like, okay, well, if that's what he's going to do, that's kind of the bar, and that's what we're going to get to. And so next thing, I'm in drag on the street corner, and so it's like, well, now the bar's been raised, what's going to be the next stupid thing we do? And so it's like, how far can we push ourselves into embarrassment without actually going too far? And honestly, I think the message, as Russell stated a few times, it's not about doing these videos and just, we do them kind of just to take our minds off of the seriousness of track and field, but also to kind of show people that we're the fun, lighter side of what goes on, behind the stands. And so everyone sees what happens in the infield and when the warm up or when they're doing their strides, and everyone sees the intensity, but no one sees the real athlete, the real person, which is the person warming up behind the stand. And so that's kind of how it came about.
And you feel that's important for the fans to know?
I definitely think so. I think as a fan, you idolize your athlete because of of the performance he does. I think you can do that, but I think for me personally, I really would like to know, like David Beckham, like, who is he? What kind of person is he? Like, is he like watching Pixar movies, or is he like eating popcorn? It's kind of interesting to see like the real kind of guy behind closed doors. To a certain degree, you have to keep a composure and be real and honest. But what makes it fun is knowing that this guy's good and he has fun doing it.
Good. So, what's next?
On our films.
Give us a tip.
Yep. So we actually wrapped yesterday. I say wrapped, but that just know that's the cool way of saying we finished filming. We're doing a bit about my addiction. I don't actually have an addiction to the new Nike Fuel Band. This little guy, and so they're staging an intervention, and it's going to be a real serious problem for me. So it's. Keep your eyes peeled, because I think that'll be out probably within the next week.
Okay. So then we'll turn now to the serious side for you then. So your thoughts on the Olympic trials, they're here, and your excitement level and how you think things are going to go for you.
With all the ups and downs I've had over the last year, the Olympic trials is probably the one thing I'm not letting put pressure on me. It's just because all I want to do is run races healthy, because you really start to see the benefits, and you really start to miss kind of those races that were actually really healthy. And despite having a bad result, racing a healthy race actually is probably the most rewarding feeling, because when you race and it's not healthy, you finish, and regardless of the result, you're just like, well, I'm still not going to come back next day and feel great. So it's hard when you're not racing healthy, and it's like, bad hamstring. Next day is like worse, and then you try and take the snowball effect of just one bad race can really offset. So all I want to do this year is just race every race healthy, and then so far it's gone pretty well. And so with the trials coming up, I just want to go into it. I want to have fun, and I just want to see what happens. I think that attitude worked for me 4 years ago. I think I'm going to try and keep to it this year.
So are you a 15 or an 8 guy then?
Oh man, 15 or 8, that seems to be the Moneyball question. Honestly, I'm not quite sure. I think my 15 PR is a bit more louder than my 800 PR, but my race tactics I think are a little stronger in the 800 versus the 15. So, but the way the trials are set up, there's no reason why I couldn't do both. So I think, but for right now, I'm just going to take it race by race, and then kind of make that final decision as the trials get a little closer.
Okay. You mentioned the race 4 years ago. How do you think that helps you, if at all, for this year?
I think it's I don't know. There's pros and cons to both sides to that 800. The pros are, I'll have a wonderful setting here at Hayward, and I'll have a crowd here that'll be more than supportive. And I could honestly not, I can't thank them enough. But the cons are that 800 is going to be a kind of a marquee event now, with like you got two, probably I think all three of us coming back to compete in the trials. It's going to be, well, is it going to be as fun a show as it was 4 years ago? And I think if you're coming to the trials with that kind of attitude, you might be disappointed. So the first thing you want to do is come and just enjoy being here, because I don't know, if I'm going to make the team, I'm going to do it however I have to do it. I'm not going to try and put on that perfect show that I did 4 years ago. I think it's just going to be a fun race.
Okay. Very good.
Cool.
Thank you, guys.